interdependent world, and we're very grateful for Minister Dagilewicz for your participation. Thank you, Ambassador Feinstein, a terrific American-Polish duo to kick off this morning's discussion. My name is Damon Wilson. I'm Vice President of the Atlantic Council and Director of our International Security Program, and I'm just delighted to welcome you all to our discussion today on NATO. We're calling this discussion, this conversation with Admiral Stavridis, a regional alliance in a multipolar world. I'm particularly delighted to welcome Admiral Stavridis here to Wroclaw as NATO Supreme Commander, Allied Commander Europe. I've had the honor to get to know Admiral Stavridis since just prior to assuming command of Allied Command Operations, and I'm particularly struck by how effective a public voice, a public advocate he is for the alliance. And that's why we're so pleased that he can join us today in Wroclaw. NATO needs a public advocate in today's world. In fact, we mentioned him earlier in the previous session. One of the audience participants proposed the dissolution of NATO. And I think this discussion now will be a discussion that takes on that argument in some respects. But as Allied leaders prepare to gather in Lisbon next month at the Lisbon Summit, some critics indeed are asking whether this summit will mark the revitalization of the alliance as it adopts a new strategic concept and captures a renewed sense of solidarity and purpose, or whether, on the other hand, the summit will mark a period of retrenchment as the alliance lays the groundwork to scale back its commitment in Afghanistan, scales down its own command structure, and faces the stark reality of massive defense cuts across the continent. This conversation this morning is an opportunity to delve into a series of questions. Can the mantra of in together, out together, which the Europeans used to keep the Americans in the Balkans in the 90s, work now to keep the Europeans in Afghanistan? What about Pakistan, where we read in the news the continuing attacks on NATO-bound convoys? Does the alliance have the will and the resources to assume new tasks, such as missile defense and cybersecurity in an era of defense spending austerity? Can the alliance strike the right balance between engagement with Russia and strengthening the credibility of the Article 5 commitment to its members? And as the title of this panel suggests, how does NATO today fit into a security environment in which threats are global, powerful actors are no longer congregated around the Euro-Atlantic area, and there's a proliferation of organizations and actors that are not used to interacting with a military alliance to solve problems which require much more than military solutions? So before we get our conversation started, let me properly introduce our guest. Admiral Stavridis became the 16th Supreme Allied Commander Europe in July 2009. A month prior to that, he also assumed command of United States European Command. He's the first Navy admiral to assume this post since it was established in 1951. Admiral Stavridis has a distinguished career as a surface warfare officer, including commanding the Enterprise Carrier Strike Group, which conducted combat operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. And before coming to Europe, he commanded U.S. Southern Command, focused on Latin America and the Caribbean. He's a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy. He earned his PhD at Tufts University, the Fletcher School, and is the author of several books. He has proven to be one of America's great warrior scholars, and perhaps the first to so effectively embrace social media as a means to advance his mission. In fact, Fred, just prior to this, said, "We think Admiral Stavridis raises America's IQ by 20 points." And in fact, I took a look at his Facebook page last night in preparation for this discussion, and it reminded me he's here today with his Polish colleague, General Chanuk, and he also has still highlighted on his Facebook page a very touching posting of the moment he was informed of the death of his colleague, his friend, General Gangor, who died with the Polish president on his flight. And it underscored, as I was looking through his Facebook page, the important role that Poland has played within the alliance and the personal friendship that he had a chance to forge. So we'd like to kick off this morning's discussion, turn it over to Admiral Stavridis. We've asked him basically to help address this issue facing the alliance, how he sees the challenges to NATO now that he's 15 months into his job as SACEUR. How does he see the challenges facing the alliance, especially given the global nature of threats, the fact that our security focus is on the wider Middle East, and the increasing shift of economic, political, military power from the transatlantic community, perhaps, to the Pacific? So with that, let me turn it over to you, Admiral Stavridis. Thank you.